In a stunning moment, Nicolás Maduro, former president of Venezuela, stood as a defendant in a New York courtroom. This was the first time a leader of his stature was captured by U.S. forces and brought to America for trial. The world was shocked, not just by his arrest, but by what it means for international law and U.S.-Venezuela relations. Just days before, U.S. Special Operations raided Caracas, capturing Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, and flying them to the U.S. Was the raid legal? What does this mean for Venezuela and the world? Maduro declared his innocence, calling himself a kidnapped leader and a prisoner of war. The case is about more than one man. It's about power, justice, and sovereignty. The courtroom drama has gripped global attention, with everyone watching to see what happens next. This event shows the lengths the U.S. will go to enforce its laws, even against foreign leaders. It also highlights Venezuela's deep crisis, ongoing for years. We'll break down who Maduro is, the charges he faces, and why this trial matters. Understanding this case is crucial. It's the start of a much larger story with global consequences. Maduro's plea of not guilty is just the beginning. The world is watching as history unfolds in a Manhattan federal court. To understand this case, we need to know who Nicolás Maduro is. Once a bus driver and union leader, he rose to power as Hugo Chávez's loyal ally. After Chávez's death in 2013, Maduro narrowly won a contested election. His presidency was marked by economic collapse, hyperinflation, and mass shortages. Millions fled Venezuela, creating a refugee crisis. Maduro's government became increasingly authoritarian, jailing critics and violating human rights. His 2018 re-election was widely condemned as fraudulent by the US and EU, who instead recognized opposition leader Juan Guaidó. This deepened Venezuela's political divide, with Russia and China backing Maduro. In 2020, the U.S. charged Maduro with narco-terrorism and drug trafficking, offering a $15 million reward for his arrest. The U.S. accused him of running a corrupt system that enabled drug traffickers. These charges set the stage for his dramatic capture and trial. Maduro's journey from bus driver to embattled president is central to this unprecedented case. Now, he faces American justice. Maduro's arrest was the result of a bold U.S. military operation. In early January 2026, nearly 200 elite U.S. troops, backed by 150 aircraft, raided Caracas. Airstrikes hit parts of the city and the main airport, stunning the world. The U.S., under President Trump, kept the operation secret, even from Congress and allies, sparking controversy over its legality. Afterward, top congressional leaders were briefed, but many criticized the lack of transparency. The raid succeeded. Maduro and Cilia Flores were captured, but violence and casualties followed. Reports described chaos in Caracas, with Cuban defenders killed and an American citizen detained by Venezuelan forces. This marked a major shift in U.S. policy, with Trump declaring, "The U.S. is now in charge of Venezuela." The State Department's message, "This is our hemisphere," signaled a new, aggressive approach in Latin America. Capturing a sitting head of state by foreign military force is almost unheard of. The precedent is controversial, and its global impact is still unfolding. The world is left to grapple with the consequences. The stakes have never been higher. On January 5, 2026, Maduro and Cilia Flores appeared in a Manhattan federal court. The world watched as Maduro in a detainee jumpsuit faced Judge Alvin Hellerstein. When asked for his plea, Maduro declared, "I am not guilty. I am still the president of my country." He called himself a kidnapped leader and a prisoner of war, challenging the court's authority. His lawyer, Barry Pollock, is expected to argue head of state immunity and question the legality of the arrest. Cilia Flores also pleaded not guilty, appearing with visible injuries from the raid. Her lawyer claimed she was hurt during the operation, adding to the defense's argument of illegitimacy. Both are held in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center as the legal battle begins. The next hearing is set for March 17, 2026. This is a historic scene, a former president in handcuffs before a foreign judge. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi promised Maduro would face American justice. But Maduro's defiance signals a long, politicized trial ahead. His plea sets the stage for a fierce legal fight. The world is watching every move. The charges against Maduro are severe: narco-terrorism conspiracy and cocaine importation. The U.S. indictment alleges a criminal scheme dating back to 1999. Prosecutors say Maduro and top officials partnered with violent drug traffickers, including Colombia's FARC. The Venezuelan government allegedly protected these groups, enabling massive cocaine shipments to the U.S. In return, Maduro's circle received millions in bribes, turning parts of the state into a criminal enterprise. The indictment also includes weapons charges, elevating the case to narco-terrorism. The U.S. claims Maduro used drugs as a weapon to harm American communities. This frames the case as an act of aggression, not just a drug crime. Recently, prosecutors revised the indictment, dropping the claim that Maduro led a formal cartel. Now, they focus on a corrupt network of officials, making the case easier to prove. The prosecution aims to show Maduro's personal involvement in this criminal system. The stakes are high for both sides. The world is watching to see if justice will be served. Maduro isn't alone in facing charges. His inner circle is also implicated. His wife, Cilia Flores, is accused of taking bribes to connect traffickers with officials. Diosdado Cabello, a powerful rival and head of the National Constituent Assembly, is named as a major player in drug trafficking. Maduro's son, Nicolás Maduro Guerra, is accused of facilitating drug shipments to Miami. These charges bring the alleged crimes into the president's own family. The U.S. is sending a message: no one in Maduro's circle is untouchable. The indictment also names gang leader Niño Guerrero, linking top-level corruption to violent street crime. The case exposes a web of political, familial, and criminal ties. Prosecutors are targeting Venezuela's highest ranks. The trial's outcome could reshape the country's future. The world is deeply divided over Maduro's capture and trial. Many U.S. allies, including France, condemned the raid as a violation of international law. Russia and China called it armed aggression and demanded Maduro's release. Latin American nations, even those critical of Maduro, opposed the use of military force. The U.S. defended its actions, calling Maduro a dictator and denying he had head of state immunity. President Trump insisted the operation was necessary for justice. The event has created sharp diplomatic rifts, forcing countries to take sides. Inside the U.S., reactions are mixed. Some celebrate, others question the legality and wisdom of acting alone. The debate over the raid's legality and consequences will continue. The world is watching how the U.S. handles this unprecedented case. Legal experts say the case against Maduro is complex and unprecedented. The defense will argue his capture was an illegal kidnapping and that he has head of state immunity. If the court agrees, the prosecution could face major setbacks. The U.S. counters that Maduro wasn't a legitimate president, so immunity doesn't apply. The court must decide a thorny legal and political question with few precedents. Many compare this to the 1989 U.S. capture of Panama's Manuel Noriega, who was ultimately convicted but recognized as a prisoner of war. Maduro's team may pursue a similar strategy. Prosecutors must present strong evidence linking Maduro directly to the crimes. The defense will challenge every argument, making conviction difficult. The trial will likely be long, with many appeals. Its outcome will set a precedent for prosecuting heads of state. The world is watching for the verdict. Maduro's removal has plunged Venezuela into crisis. Former Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as interim president, vowing to defend Maduro's legitimacy. The government declared a state of emergency, arresting those who supported the U.S. raid. Caracas is tense, with protests and fears of violence. The military's loyalty is uncertain, and the nation's stability hangs in the balance. Oil prices spiked, and the U.S. maintains its embargo, hoping to revive Venezuela's oil industry. 16 oil tankers left Venezuela, hinting at a shift in control over its resources. For Venezuelans, the future is more uncertain than ever. The world faces a challenge: how to support a peaceful transition without worsening the crisis. The fate of 30 million Venezuelans now hangs in the balance.